Irrespective.
Are you saying that logic is not okay? Because logic is a process of the mind, is what 6a says. Excuse me. And you're saying logic is not a process of the mind?
No. This is the fallacy. This is the fallacy I'm talking about. All the way up to this point, you say logical absolutes, logical absolutes, logical absolutes, and then you say logic is a process of the mind. What you're doing in 6.1 is making an inductive argument. You're saying logic is a process of the mind, and that I would agree as long as we're talking about logic in the sense of the models that we do, the application of these absolutes. And you're saying logical absolutes provide the framework for logic, which I agree with. But then you say, therefore, logical absolutes are conceptual by nature. That is a logical fallacy. To say that the application of X is conceptual, therefore X is conceptual, is a logical fallacy.
Okay. So then let me ask you, are you saying then that a logical absolute, such as the law of excluded middle, is not a conceptual reality?
I'm saying that that may not make sense. That it depends on what your definition of conceptual is, that's what we're having the struggle with.
Of the mind.
I would say that absolute is not contingent on any mind, could not be. And when you get to your conclusion,
okay,
where you get to that logical absolutes are contingent upon the mind of God, that this is actually self-refuting.
No, I would disagree, of course.
Okay, can God make A not A?
No.
Why not?
Because it would be a logical contradiction.
Which means God is subject to the laws of logic, these absolutes. Therefore, he cannot be the author of them.
Okay. Last week when I was talking, each time I would start to give an answer, the hosts would jump in and not let me finish. I actually received numerous emails from atheists who pointed out that very issue. I'm not trying to be whiny and complaining, but it really does help when asked a question if I can actually complete the thought. I mean, I'm not trying to be complaining here, but
I think I've been pretty fair today, and I'm stopping so that you can do that.
I appreciate that. Now, I like the way that you present yourself, because I can tell you're articulate and intelligent, so I like that. But now I forgot where I was actually. But no, God did not author the logical absolutes. They are what we would say. We're jumping way ahead, but what we would say is they are part of His nature and His essence. God cannot make A be non-A any more than God can lie or God can stop being God, because God has a certain nature, and He must operate in a manner consistent with His own nature.
Right.
This is the Christian worldview.
I understand that.
So since certain things are just impossible, like a square circle, God cannot make a square circle because it's a logically impossible thing.
Right. And the problem here is that what you're saying is that these absolutes exist. And this is the problem with actually the whole argument. Calling this the transcendental argument for the existence of God is to me problematic, because what it really is an argument for why are there logical absolutes. So you construct an argument, and by the way, I understand you didn't construct this, although this version is yours. Tag's been around. An argument is constructed to explain why the logical absolutes are what they are. And in doing so, there are possibilities. And you are excluding the possibility that they simply are what they are, that it is their very nature, that there could be no other way. And then when you get to your conclusion to say they are God, you're either equating God to logical absolutes, which means you're just affirming that logical absolutes exist and are what they are by nature and labeling those absolutes God, or you are claiming that God and logical absolutes are somehow synonymous but not the same. And if that's the case, you've made no argument for the existence of God. You've simply argued for the existence of these absolutes. And to say that it's just a part of God's nature is fundamentally no different from saying that those absolutes are what they are because that's their nature. They couldn't be another way.
All right. Well, let's back up then. Let's go through the argument.
Okay.
See, logic does exist. We use it. It's based upon logical principles. We already went over those, the first, second, third laws of logic. The nature of these logical laws are that they are transcendent. They are not dependent upon space and time for their validity. They are conceptual in the sense that they exist in the mind. You cannot go out to a field and dig in a bunch of dirt and find the logical absolute called the law of identity. You cannot freeze them, weigh them, measure their length or the color. It doesn't work like that.
Can I pause here for a second? Because I think this is where the first equivocation comes in.
It's your show.
Well, I just want to make, if you were right on the verge of getting to something important, I didn't want to stop you unnecessarily. What you're talking about there, this conceptual thing, by the way, I still assert that there's an actual logical fallacy, an inductive argument error in there. But when you're saying that they exist in the mind, no, they don't. That's almost metaphorical. If no minds existed, these things would still be true. These absolutes go to the essence of what is, and I guess we could say what is possible. They are the essence of everything. And whether or not there's a mind, they still are what they are. And that is, I mean, they apply to themselves. They apply to reality. They apply to mind. They apply to everything.
Actually,
and you've said they even apply to God.
Okay, hold on. Too many things. First of all, you said they are what they are. That's fine. Saying that the absolutes are God, I did not say that, nor was implying that. You said, or that God and the logical absolutes are synonymous, not the same. Well, we could ferret that one out. But you said if no mind exists, then they would still be true. Well, that's not a logical statement, because truth is a mental statement. Truth is truth is a statement. Now, if no mind exists, there can be no truth. There can only be reality and actuality.
This is where you have essentially palmed a card in the argument, because the logical absolutes that you're talking about are operating at a meta level, and then when you say they're conceptual, you're applying them. You're actually
saying they're conceptual by nature. The statement, for example, the law of identity, something is what it is a statement, and it's a truth. Truth exists only when minds exist. Truth only exists when minds exist. Statements are of the mind.
So what you're saying is that let's just say, and I realize that this is going to be contradictory. Hopefully you'll be able to go along with it. Let's just say that there is no mind anywhere. The universe is exactly identical, except that there are no minds. Okay?
Then there is no truth.
But that's not what the logical absolutes are about. They're not about truth. They're about essence. A rock in that universe is still a rock, and it is not a rock. It doesn't matter if there's somebody who can assess the truth, put a valuation on the truth. Those absolutes go to the essence and not the evaluation of it.
On the contrary, logic reflects reality. This is why we're able to do mathematics. This is why we're able to make conclusions that work in the real world. The meta-analysis you're trying to get to is an attempt to distinguish the ontological nature of them from the truth statements of what they are, separate them, which I think is a category mistake on your part, and then say there is no real reality relationship. And obviously that cannot be the case, because we exist in reality, we use them all the time.
You're the one...
Logical absolutes are statements, and they do relate to truth, because it is true that a statement cannot be both true and false at the same time, because the nature of the second law of logic states a statement cannot be both true and false at the same time. The very nature of the statement of law of logic there deals with the nature of truth, and which contradicts what you said earlier.
No, it doesn't. Here's the thing.
Yes, it does.
Hey, well, okay, then I guess you're right if your only response is to interrupt and say, yes, it does. Is that how that works?
Well, it's not my only response. I gave you a good one.
Well, you didn't let me get to respond to this. You're talking about two different things. The statement, X equals S. Yes, that statement does not exist if there are no minds to make that statement. Its truth value is meaningless and pointless if there aren't any minds to assess it. And yet, that's not what these absolutes are. These absolutes are not the statement within the mind. The statements point to the absolutes. A rock in a universe with no minds is still whatever it is, and it is not whatever it is not. That's the absolute. The statement is not the absolute. And when you say that these logical absolutes are transcendent, that they are not dependent upon matter, that they are not dependent on anything in the universe, and then turn around and say that they are conceptual and that they are our reflections of reality, you are contradicting yourself.
Actually, Matt, I love this conversation, but you're the one offering a self-contradictory statement. When you say the only thing that exists is a rock, and a rock is a rock, What you're offering is a self-contradictory statement. The only thing that exists is a rock, and then what you do is violate that and offer a truth statement, which violates.
No, I never said the only thing that exists is a rock. I said in a universe that is identical to this, but in which there are no minds, a rock is still what it is. I did not say the only thing that exists is a rock.